All right, welcome to the Prowl Podcast. I think it's welcome back to the Prowl Podcast. It's been a bit.
Back. Yeah, it has been.
So this is Trevor Grace.
And Chris Wilcox.
And it has been a minute. For our faithful listeners, who I don't even know if we have one, but...
Me.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Like family who does it in an obligatory way. You know, we got busy. We had some things happen. Chasing around kids in basketball. I was helping out with 8th grade basketball. And it got away from us. So there's been a lot changed, right, Chris?
Yeah, yeah. There has been some movement.
And we're going to try to go from the beginning and wrap up winter sports from beginning to end, and then talk about the start of spring sports, and then some other stuff that's happened as well. So let's go to what arguably has been probably the biggest change that I don't think we've commented on, and that was we hired an athletic director.
We have, yes, absolutely.
And Randy Moore comes from
Linden.
comes from Linden,
Yep.
and he's now been on site since at least November.
Correct.
Right, so it's going to be a good solid 7 months. And in that time frame, we learned that we could probably just fold up shop if we want.
Yeah. This is our last episode. Joking. But no, he has done a tremendous job ever since day one, really. He really has, just promoting the athletes, getting everything out there, really getting stuff in front of the community and the parents.
If you go back and listen to our first episode and or some of our first posts about why we did the Tigers Den and the Prowl podcast, it was, Dinah's number one thing was, I just want to know when the games are.
Yep.
He does that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Check.
You know when the games are.
Then what was it? Like his first week, he put out a newsletter?
Yep. Check number 2.
Check 2. Like, we're not even doing a newsletter. He doesn't have a podcast, so we still got him there.
That's right.
So, and I know you spent a lot of time talking with Randy,
Yeah.
And participated in a handful of other things, with him in partnership with him. So, I just think it's been a good thing. I have had some brief conversations with them, and the kids like him.
Yeah. Yep.
And just seems to be a good steering force for the athletic program.
Yeah, a very good steering force for the athletic program, and hey, it's always a good thing when the kids like you too, right? Yeah. I mean, you have a chance to be a mentor in a position that he's in as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Full disclosure, we recorded a podcast that we chose not to air.
Correct.
Because we got off the rails. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah. It was a freight train that went wild.
Yeah, we needed it. It was therapeutic.
It was an hour and a half therapeutic. If you're still listening, but yeah, it was very therapeutic.
So I do know that we talked a little bit about the start of fall sports, but it might have been in that. So, we're not fall sports, the start of winter sports. And we are now very firmly in spring sports. We're recording on the night that the Dow Diamond game was canceled. Mm-hmm. So we're using this free time to do that. And so it's a big bummer because I know, our kids were really looking forward to that. And I think, honestly, it sounded like in the community. It was
the community, following. I think, was going to be quite a bit of following. I know myself, I was actually going to come grab my kids. I was leaving work early to go over. So
yeah. Anyway, rain said no way, and if we would have gone there would have been 50-mile-an-hour winds heading out of the park, so it could have been interesting.
It could have been very interesting.
So back to winter sports. So we'll kind of stick to the main ones, and by main ones I mean like high school ones, and maybe just touch briefly on JV sports. But let's go with. I'll start with swimming. All right, I'll leave wrestling to you since you did a little lookup of that. So Coach Sutton called their team lean and mean, and it very much was. I think they only had 7 people at one time, maybe even got to 8 for a little bit. But those guys were pretty dedicated, the boys swim team. They were constantly putting out PRs and records throughout the season. And then, and they were a pretty young team, but they were also led by 2 seniors, Wyatt Sutton, who's technically a Cass City student, because we do the, what do they call that when they come over? It's not crossover.
Dual co-op.
Yeah, co-op sport. So we co-op with Cass City for that. And then Caro Senior, Matthew Booms. And so both of them set school records. And I know both of them had that on their agenda. And so congratulations to both of them. I know Matthew pretty well because he's with baseball and he's pretty happy. And I think he's even going to go swim after, at least the last time I talked to him, he's going to go swim after school here in college. So I don't know about Wyatt's path, but they PR'd all season until they set those records. And so now their names are on the board in the Woody Crutchfield Natatorium. And that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. So, absolutely. Yeah, anytime you can permanently place your name somewhere, you're leaving a mark.
And they were taking off names that had been up there for a bit. So it's one of those things, like, people don't realize how long our swim program's been there, but there's some names up there for a while. So I'm sure there's way more to talk about. But we got to there's a lot of stuff to talk about. So shout out the boys swimmers, like, Lean and Mean. And I know that they won a fair amount of meets as well. Even though they couldn't even compete as much as they want with, like, multiple swimmers and getting points, because it's all about placing, right? So, and you can only do so many events. So shout out to them.
Yeah. Moving on to the wrestling side of things, Coach Rocco Borg doing good things once again with his squad. Just a small wrap up. Todd Bailey, Owen Pearso, yes. Regional qualifiers. They were the two coming out of Caro as regional qualifiers. So, kudos to not just them, but the entire squad. There was a, I guess, pep assembly, we'll call it. It was kind of the talk of the town. Energetic. Caro took on Cass City during a pep assembly, and man, the energy level that was brought to that, pretty high. And it was
pep assembly you're not doing it justice. So
correct.
I'll paint the picture a little bit more. You finish it.
Yeah, you paint it.
Cass City bussed kids here.
Yep.
They were on one side. Caro students were on the other side. This was during school hours.
Correct.
That's where you're saying pep assembly, because pep assembly. Literally, a wrestling match happened during school hours in a fully stocked gym filled with most of the kids at both schools, and done with a spotlight.
Doesn't get much better than that.
That sounds pretty sweet.
It does sound pretty sweet. And to have that type of environment, and to have it literally in your home gymnasium, and to have students from freshman level on up pack the gym to cheer you on, to cheer the team on, and just the environment. The videos that I saw, like, I wanted to get out there and wrestle, and I'm a 40-year-old male that's like, what are you thinking even? But it's that environment, right? It's the energy that's brought to it. And, Coach Rocco did a phenomenal job this year with his squad, and they're only going to get stronger. He's going to have several returning wrestlers come back next year. So kudos, Coach Borg, and all of those wrestlers. And not only that, but the Wrangler wrestling program as well that he's got going on up there. He just continues to he's challenging the kids as well. That's the part that I like. He's really challenging them in every aspect that he possibly can to make them better.
And I do want to shout out, listen, if you're from here, there's Caro Growlers is still there doing their thing too, and helping building the program too. And so, both programs are feeding into the Caro program, which is creating good things. So, all right. So let's move on to bowling. And I think I'm going to give you a little bit of time to look up girls bowling, because I know there's some special things that happen on girls bowling. Boys bowling, they competed, and I don't think they got districts or anything like that, but I know that a couple of the bowlers got some individual invites. Freshman Trenton Hessling did well as his brother Tristan. There's a couple other guys there, but I don't remember any specific awards from them or the team. They did very, very well. I just know that. And we'll try to find out some other information, but I believe that they finished second in the league is what I'm thinking, because I think Cass City won the league.
Correct. That is correct.
For boys' side. Yep. So, and then individually, I don't remember anybody. I think there was placing that happened, right? I think some of the people placed, but and some of that's coming from Trenton, because I was talking to him about it, and but they're pretty young, and just you sometimes we forget that bowling's happening, and yet actually one of the more successful sports programs we have.
Absolutely.
When you start looking at it, so
yeah, you see those conference championships, regional championships, state qualifiers, things of that nature. It's a very successful program. On the girls' side of things, girls took conference.
Mm-hmm.
Then they said, you know what? If we're going to take conference, we might as well take regional.
Yeah, why not?
So head on, take regional as well, and they had some individuals as well that did well. Isabella Du Russell placed in second at regionals to help the team out to move on to states. Fell short in states, but successful season.
Yeah,
very much a successful season. Anytime you bring hardware home, step back, take a look, take a deep breath. Wow, that just happened.
Those district and regional trophies, they all look the same, but that doesn't mean they aren't special. And to be able to hold one and watch teams, it's a culmination of a lot of effort, and so
right.
Shout out to them for what they were able to accomplish.
Yeah, girls team placed in the top 8. That's pretty special. Madeline Jansen placed 24th in individuals. That's a big deal.
In states, by the way.
In states, in
let's
states.
clarify.
Yeah, sorry. In states, yeah. That's a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and for that, I think that leaves us with basketball, right?
Yeah.
So we'll touch on the girls first. I remember, and I don't know if you were there, but early on I went and watched some of the girls' games, and Coach Jay Riley walked out, and I looked at him and I said, Coach, it is fun to watch your girls play. And he said, thank you. But what, not just, hey, thanks, like that it was really meaningful to him. He goes, that's really what we're trying to do, and they played hard, and I don't think you can underestimate how hard this year was for them.
It was tough. It was tough.
Because you lost arguably the best female basketball player to ever come out of this school.
Probably maybe to come out of the thumb.
And I was waiting for you to go to the next level.
Maybe out of the thumb. And she's up there. She's up there. But man, you're right. That's tough.
And so while that was a big big shoes to fill in terms of Adeline moving on, and going to college, and as far as I know, was putting in some minutes, and I don't know how her season ended up. I feel bad for not knowing that, but I know she was playing. So
she was playing. I actually think I gave all the numbers and everything on the podcast where we had some therapy, but
yeah, we did talk about it.
Yeah, we did. But
so what he had this year is, for starters, he had 2 freshmen up, and that was intriguing. I kind of thought one would, but so Brooklyn Osborne and Normandy Geiger were both called up, so we had a really cool opportunity. They had a cool opportunity. We had a cool opportunity to watch it, of sisters playing together on that team. 2 sets.
Yeah.
Which
usually doesn't happen.
Alexa and Morgan either. Yeah. And but 2 sisters were in the starting squad, because usually her older sister Gwen started as well. And then we had seniors in Gwen, Alexa Long, and Kaylee Garza, who had, played with Adeline for a while, right, and to take over that leadership role. And, they played hard. They battled for league. It was in their grasp. It was there.
It was.
They had a chance. Bad X pulled it off. And it's not often you see a game, I can't remember what the score was, but it was like 24-21 or something. It was like, you don't generally see a game go that, but it was 2 teams that knew what was on the line and were both nervous and played hard the whole time and just weren't hitting shots. And it was, I'm sure even Coach Jay would tell you, it wasn't the most beautiful game, but it was a game of heart and guts. And Bad X came out and prevailed and took conference there. And then they went on to districts and lost in the district finals, I believe, right?
That is correct, yes, to Sandusky.
Yeah. So in terms of awards on that team...
Thumb Sports, or are you just talking conference?
Conference.
So first team, all conference, was Alexa Long, and Brooklyn Osborne. Second team, Normandy Geiger. Second team, Kaylee Garza. And honorable mention to Gwen Geiger.
Yeah. So let's go with the Gwen thing a little bit longer because she had a heck of a week there.
Oh, she had a huge week.
She had a triple-double, got noticed as the athlete of the week from the Tuscola County Advertiser,
Yep.
and then went on and got noticed by the state of Michigan, MHSAA,
Yep.
as a scholar athlete. And there was how many given? Not many.
12, I believe, total. 12 or 16, I think. Don't quote me on that number, but yeah, there's not money given.
And she was honored at halftime of one of the state championship games down at the Breslin.
Yep.
So her family. So, I mean, shout out to Gwen. Like, she always played hard. I mean, it was her senior year, but she's also played hard in the classroom, obviously, to get that.
Very much so.
And if you've never went and watched a play, usually she's in most of the plays and does a heck of a job. So, anything else regarding the girls? Well, I think there's a couple notable things now that I think about it. One is I do want to give a shout out to Tim Warwick.
Yes.
So while we said we weren't going to spend much time on JV,
talk about a guy that steps in when needed.
Yeah,
huge.
JV girls lost their coach. I wouldn't say halfway through the season. It was a very rough season for them because they lost two of their keys. Right, it's really tough when you lose when you get some kids called up, and the coach stepped away, had his reasons, and Tim came in and filled in, and they actually completely turned their season around. They went from 0 wins and losing a lot of games to they won games.
They won games, yeah.
They played better. And it was just really good to see. And so I definitely want to give Tim a shout out there because the girls needed somebody.
Yeah.
And Jay needed somebody to help out in the program, and he stepped in there. And then we would be remiss to not, if we're talking about girls basketball, without mentioning the loss of Nick.
Yeah, absolutely.
So basically in the 8th grade season, Coach Nick Berry, who, if you're listening to this, I'm sure you know him, I knew him. He had to go get a procedure. And at that time, we were just thinking about starting 8th grade basketball for the boys. We were just getting ready for that. And Coach Dan Bills said, I'll take over for you and finish the 8th grade girls season and let you go over there and get that surgery. And he just never really recovered from the surgery.
Correct. Yeah.
So, and I think he passed about...
Let's see here. It was on a Wednesday, April 3rd.
April 3rd. Okay, so it's almost been over a week now.
Yeah.
So, prayers to his family and all of that. Nick's going to be missed. He's a huge part of Caro sports.
Huge part of Caro sports.
I don't think I ever saw him wear anything other than Caro purple.
Well, he
sometimes Spartan
green and white.
Yeah, sometimes Spartan green. So, we would definitely be remiss without mentioning that big loss for Caro athletics and Caro schools in general.
In general, honestly, the community is as well. He was. I mean, he had his own business, right? Yard work, everything else, but he was always there for any of the girls coming through that program.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So it'd be hard to replace him. So moving on to the boys. It was a year.
It was.
I almost think we need to start at the end. Caro head basketball coach Matt Shears resigned.
Yes.
And so we are currently without a head varsity basketball coach. There are rumors. We'll just say that.
Yep.
Rumors that may be decided. We're just gonna. That's all we're gonna say there. But that there's directions. I do know that the job was posted.
Yep.
And I know that we can say that there was applications.
Correct.
And interviews done.
And interviews. Yep.
So, with that being said, we'll go back to the season. I tell you. I know I'm quiet. I'm trying to put my words together because I was proud of them having watched every single one of their games.
I mean, really, it was a good season.
I think we can confidently say it was a good season.
Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah. And, credit to our outgoing seniors who played hard. I think all of them improved. We got Valen back on the court. After his year of having shoulder surgery, which is actually hard to say, he got back out there to play with his brother and got to see something that others had talked about when they were in middle school called when they go in twin mode.
Yeah.
And the thing is like you hear about these things, and then all of a sudden, every now and then, you'll see it on the court. So I got to see that a couple times, which is pretty cool. Like, how'd you even know he was there? And it's just because they do. And honestly, Logan McGarry had some big improvements this year.
Big improvements.
He played, for being not that big of a guy in terms of height, he played very big and very athletic this year. And I think he should be proud with how he finished the season. So all three of them. And then we go to the rest. I mean, I think everybody knows that Connor had a great season. Connor McGarry, our sophomore, and it shows in some of the awards he got. I think you got those pulled up, right? Yeah. So he kind of took home, even at his sophomore year, quite a few awards. So
yeah, absolutely. First team all conference, and then first team Thumb Sports Writers Association as well.
Yeah.
So kudos to him. And then Evan Langmaid as well, valuable piece of the team. Racking up some awards. Second team all conference, and then honorable mention for Thumb Sports Writers Association.
Sweet. Okay.
So Jaden and Valen, Jaden Buniak, Valen Buniak, and Logan McGarry, all taking home honorable mention for their conference.
And I got to say this about Evan. Like, talk about dynamic, right? I think that's like the best word. Like, something is going to happen when he's on the court, right? And he definitely can make some things happen. And he had a good start to the season. Kind of had a rough middle part, and then I actually think he ended quite well in terms of
finish strong.
He did finish strong. So the season ended up. What was a record?
Off the top of my head,
13 and 8, I think.
I believe that's right.
13 and 8, because I think they didn't get 22 in. They got 21 in. And then they went ahead and went into districts, which we got quite the district draw.
Yeah.
In terms of like who was there. So we got we drew USA first in the what would be the play-in game, I guess is the best way to do it, pre-district game,
Pre-district,
yeah. And they took care of business against USA. Actually played them better than they did the previous 2 times, and then got matched up with Harbor Beach.
No,
it was Cass City.
It was Cass City. Harbor Beach was on the other side.
Why am I forgetting that I was there?
That's all right.
Anyway, it was Cass City for the 3rd time. That's right. And I know we were pretty hopeful because the second game of the season it was close. We were ahead actually most of the game in Cass City. Correct. And it was quite the game. So they got knocked out in district semifinals to Cass City.
And it was 13 and 10.
13 and 10 total when you add everything. We add the district wins. Yep. So 12 and 9 is what it was. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yep.
12 and 9 in the regular season. And there was anybody who was there knows that there was tension, right? There was stuff going on. I don't think that the resignation of Coach Shears was a surprise. I think we'll say that.
Yeah.
But I think, again, we would be remiss not to say that at this current time, even though he's no longer with us, he holds the 2 most successful seasons in a very long time.
Oh, absolutely.
In Caro basketball.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, because if you do your homework before that, you will see there's not even a winning season. The last winning season was Dan Bill's a long time ago.
A long time ago. I don't want to make it sound like he's really old or anything, but yes.
I think Coach Bills would tell you he's feeling old. So anyway, so with that, I mean, I think that wraps up most of the winter sports seasons. And I think that all I can say is that the future is looking up, because I think let's talk about it briefly. JV basketball. I think it's worth talking about.
They were okay.
So Coach Parker, Coach Jason Parker had the boys this year. It was an interesting combination of, I would say interesting, it was just a combination of freshmen and sophomores, and they finished their season 18-3. Now, that's about where I'm going to go, since I'm quite a bit biased about that team, as my son is on it. But observations from the casual Chris Wilcox,
the casual follower.
Yeah, the casual follower.
18-3 with, I'm going to say, 2 tough losses in there.
Missing arguably their best kid.
Yeah.
Second best kid. You can make the argument either way. Jackson Fulton.
And Millington took it to him.
Yeah, they did.
Millington took it to him. But Ubley, whatever.
It was a loss.
And
I don't want to put the kids out
and
there
then-
saying it was an excuse.
Right? No,
Ubley beat them.
absolutely.
Harbor Beach beat them.
And then Harbor Beach, yeah.
Yep.
Beginning of the year. That was beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. If they would have played those two teams later on, I don't know. It would have been interesting. Harbor Beach would have been interesting.
14, 15 straight wins, something like that through the middle
I
of the
think
season.
it was 15, yeah.
I did do the stats for average margin of victory. It was something like 26 points.
Well, when you're scoring pretty much 65, 70 points a game in a JV level, I'm sorry, but that's pretty darn impressive.
Listen, I understand it's JV, but the reason we bring it up is because this is what's coming.
Well, most of them are going to be juniors next year.
Yeah, a good solid 6 of them for sure. Six of them, half the team is.
Yeah.
So optimistic there. And I think my favorite part, and I will talk as a parent, is they had a blast. Like,
as they should have. I mean, the games I was watching were just, I don't want to say it was laid back. I mean, listen, they were playing basketball, but they look fun. Mm-hmm. Like, I even kind of wanted to be out on the court with them.
Yeah.
Not that I would have got up and down the court, but I wanted to be out on the court with them.
Yeah. So we'll throw that out there because I think that's good. And then, honestly, let's just give a shout out to the freshmen, because you had heard some very specific comments about the freshman team.
Yeah. Yeah. From another community. Just that, listen, the second time around that, they played the Caro freshmen they were probably the most, I was told, that they were the most improved team that they've seen from the start of the season to the end of the season. I think that says a lot. It truly does.
And let's go back to the struggles that girls JV had losing Normandy and Brooklyn.
Right.
So the freshman boys lost
essentially the same struggle.
Basically, 4 guys went to JV, and which would be considered their core. So we had a lot of guys that had to learn how to be leaders. And by the sounds of it, from that report from the other persons from the other town, it took them a bit to do that, but they did it.
Well, and that's the thing, right? I mean, I say this I'm just going to say, sometimes on teams, you have natural leaders. If those natural leaders move on or get moved up, having someone else step in as a leader sometimes is hard.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has different or up to potential different leadership qualities, whatever those may be. And sometimes people just aren't meant to be leaders. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That's okay.
Yeah.
But when you take 4 of them or 5 of them and you bump them up, sometimes that's tough. That's really tough.
Yeah. You got to adjust. I mean, it requires a certain amount of adjustment, and to see it happen ends up being actually a really good developmental thing for those kids that were there. So
yeah, and kudos to Coach T-Cats.
Yeah.
I mean, from the start to the end, big turnarounds.
Yeah, and I watched a handful of their games. I watched that last one they had, which was against Reese, and they finished out on a win. I do not know what their record was. Something tells me it was right around 500, but it might have been positive. I'm not sure. You know who will know? Johnny Klish.
Johnny Klish will know.
Shout out to Johnny Klish, who knows exactly what the record was. So we'll have to report that at another time.
Yeah.
He always knows. So that wraps up our winter sports season. It was exhausting, actually. Running back and forth.
Long.
It was long. But that's just Michigan winters for you. And now it's spring. Not technically, but it's close enough.
Close enough.
So, interestingly, the weather has played havoc on a couple sports, and it isn't necessarily the ones you would expect, because baseball's got 6 games in, which is way above average for this time of year. But track has actually been the one that's been hit the hardest by it. They had a meet at SVSU indoors.
Correct.
I know that they had that. I don't really know all the results of that, but I know that's their only thing. And then they had a meet. I talked to somebody today who said that their meet was rescheduled they have a meet rescheduled for tomorrow, I think. I think they have a meet tomorrow because it's supposed to be nice.
I believe you're correct, yes.
So Caro boys and girls will get outside, and I think they got some hardware to defend. I believe boys.
The location for next Tuesday has changed.
Okay.
is what it is, the location itself for next Tuesday. I didn't see one on here for
Tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. I'm taking a look at the Caro Athletics site, which
Is up to date.
Randy Moore does a fantastic job
It is
at.
up to date. I mean, he's literally updating it. I get a text saying a game's canceled, and then I get a message from Caro Athletics saying this is updated. It's all at one time. Like, it's very, very good. Shout out again. That's another shout out to Randy, doing a fantastic job there with keeping everybody apprised of that. So anyway, long story short, Caro Track's not got going yet.
Correct.
All right. Middle school did have a meet. Boys won. Girls got third. In a quad. So it was good for them to get out and do that. I mean, we're talking about kids who hadn't even jumped outside yet, like because the weather has been that bad. And then I don't know where tennis is. I know soccer has played. I know that they did lose their first game of the season. They played a really tough competitor and lost. And I think they played more than that. So Carroll Girls Soccer is out there going. Like I said, tennis we don't know. And then softball and baseball. So you're looking up.
I was trying to grab the
Girls soccer.
And unfortunately, I just the Montrose game is all I see.
Yeah, it was 9-0.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah.
And as far as tennis goes, I don't see anything. They were supposed to have a match on April 5th against Bullock Creek.
Yeah.
So
let's go to softball. Softball, I know that they split with Kingston. They got out and then they split with Marlette.
Yes.
So I believe they are 2-2.
Yep.
They got a little bit of a late start than baseball, but they got 2 doubleheaders in. And Leah Daniels.
Who is she? Oh, wait, I did a podcast on her.
Yeah, that's right. So shout out to Leah. Go back and listen to her podcast with Chris. I don't know which episode it was, but it's actually a fantastic listen for what it takes to be a D1 athlete and to be considered at that level, as she will be attending University of Detroit Mercy to play softball. Yep. She is currently 11 for 12, I believe, is her. That's not too shabby.
Is this like test score, or is this
that's a good score at a quiz?
It's a good score on a quiz. Yeah, it's a really good score if you're also trying to hit a ball. So
yeah. So Leah, and I looked at some other stuff that's happening. It looks like Kaylee Garza's doing a decent job pitching.
Yep.
So it's really hard to make judgments on baseball and softball this early in the season because you haven't even hardly been outside. And then when you do get to go outside, you haven't seen this. So to be 500 and be 2-2 at this point, honestly, it's not. It's right where you want to be. Yeah. You'd like to be 4-0, like you would
right,
be. But
yeah.
But knowing a lot of times coaches take these early games as they almost treat them like scrimmages so they can see what they have before they start league play. So. So anyway, yeah, Coach Greg there and Coach Jason doing good things, and then go to baseball. So I can talk about baseball since I've seen all of it.
Why don't you talk about baseball a little bit?
So I assistant coach on varsity with Coach Nichols and Coach Gomez, and we are 3-3, and we have lost by a total of 3 runs in our 3 losses.
I guess when you look at losses, those are not bad losses. If you're in 1-run ball games, something's happening.
Yeah. And at the same time, we've won some 1-run ball games as well. So it's going both ways. It's just been so nice to get outside. We've actually had some really good weather on the days that we had games scheduled. Hey, let's shout out Randy Moore one more time because he bumped that one into a better day.
Thanks, Randy.
Yeah. So we had our he looked at the weather and said, "Do you want to move your Millington game on Thursday to a Saturday?" Which was supposed to be nice. It was beautiful that day.
He's like a meteorologist on top of everything else.
Oh, man, he should probably get a pay raise.
Yeah, all right, yeah.
So we started off over in Chesaning. We lost our first game of the season on a squeeze play. Squeeze bunt, which for anybody that understands baseball knows that it's indefensible if done correctly, and they did it correctly. And there was nothing we could do. In that game, Matthew Booms came in relief and pitched phenomenal 4.1 4 1/3 innings, and allowed us to crawl back because
Correct.
they got out in front of us 4-zip pretty quickly. And I think in that game, some kid named Xander Grice went 1 for 1 with 3 walks and 100% on base percentage, scored 2 runs, and a big blast in that particular game was.
He's talking about his kid.
Yeah, I know. Big blast though in that game was freshman Trenton Hessling.
Yeah,
2-run double.
2-run double. Yeah, that was that. I was watching via Game Changer. Was not present at the game, but that was a big hit.
Actually, I called it numerous places a 2-run double. I'm sorry, it was a 1-run double because he had a sacrifice fly earlier in that game. He had 2 RBIs in the game though.
Right.
He definitely did. But so his first varsity hit was a big run scoring double. In that game, I'm trying to think who else had their first varsity hit in that game. In the doubleheader, almost everybody a number of people got their first varsity hits, and I'll talk about that in a second. So we go to game 2. Mason Allard took the he would have taken the loss in that game.
Loss. Yep.
Because he was the one that gave up the first
Correct.
4. No, Booms did. Matthew did. He had to because he's the one that gave up the last run, right? So.
Oh yes, yeah.
We tied the game up.
Yes.
So it had to be Matthew, even though he did a phenomenal job. And honestly, Mason did well. He just was a little wild that day, and that's what's going to happen your first time on the mound. So he had a pretty decent game, a pretty decent doubleheader. So we go to game 2, and bats came alive. We had a first varsity hit from Landon Stein. We had a first varsity hit from Valen Buniak, I believe.
Yep.
We had a first varsity hit from Nathan Deagle, who came in and got a hit injured, of all things. He had to come out because another kid. Anyway, it was just interesting. Just the guys. I'm very proud of these guys for what they've been able to accomplish. We got that win, went 1-1. Next day, I had to pack up and go over to Millington on the bump for that game. Freshman Landon Stein started that game.
Big moment for a freshman.
And well, let's put a pin in that because Xander Grace got the win in game 2 of Chesney. I forgot about that. He did okay.
Yeah.
And then Landon and Ramon came in and saved the game. Not technically saves, but came in and did a good job holding the game.
Yeah.
Right. So let's go back to Millington. So Landon is on the mound and loses a tough one. 1-zip. Pitched a complete game, 5 innings.
Pitched probably one of the, I don't want to say one of the best. I'll say it, one of the best games I've seen a freshman pitcher on varsity pitch in a while.
Yeah, I mean, I can think of a couple last year, but no shot. But when I'm talking about from efficiency standpoint and just pumping the zone,
unreal.
He was unreal. And so big game for Landon. And then we had, but obviously we didn't have any runs that game. We had 0. Then we go into game 2 that day, and Ramon Zamora came in and started that game and did phenomenal. He
Absolutely dealing.
He was. I mean,
left and right.
Yeah, coming from the left side, he looked very, very good. And we were ahead a decent chunk of that game and went to extra innings. We were only supposed to play 6. Then went on and did 2 extra innings, and they were able to battle back. And we tried to come back as well. Wasn't able to get there. Innings from Jaden and Valen Buniak to get up on the mound and help the team out. Probably had to stretch Jaden a little further when we wanted to because of the back-to-back days. We might have bit off more than we could chew in playing back-to-back doubleheaders, and even had freshman Mark Warren come in and get us a strikeout.
Talk about a freshman that's being put in tough situations. Just the games that he's been in, seems like he's in less than desirable situations as a freshman. Kid's definitely learning. And I say not that he's learning like it's a bad thing, but he's getting put in situations, bases loaded, and now he's up to bat, 2 outs, and just to think about the amount of pressure you would feel just as a normal high school athlete. And here's a freshman.
A freshman who's actually on JV.
Yeah.
And we probably should talk about, we have 10 guys on our team.
Yeah.
And so anybody that does the math knows that's tough, especially when one kid really hurt his shoulder in game 1 of the season. Another one pulled his hamstring and has been playing a little hurt. So, and then in that particular game, of Millington, game 1, completely forgot, one kid turned his finger sideways.
I'd like to say that happens, but it just doesn't happen a lot. But yes, he did turn his finger sideways.
Senior Mason Allard he really came out guns a-blazing this year. He was doing very well at the plate, took the leadoff spot, was stealing the base, pop-up happens, he dives back into second base, comes running in, throws his helmet. I'm thinking, come on, man, it's like not that big. But it is a big deal. Like, I am upset. And then I hear behind me someone go, oh, no. And then he's grabbing his stuff and going. And the picture confirms later, he dislocated his ring finger on his left hand, and he needed some help. So that's how Mark Warren gets in the game, because he's not supposed to.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and so that puts us at 1-3, and then we have Monday. We had a cross league matchup with the Marlette Red Raiders, and it's probably best I don't talk about game 1. How about you?
Yeah, it was absolutely miserable. Oh wait, game 1. Yeah, that game. Another strong pitching performance. Another phenomenal pitching performance is where we need to go at. Xander Grice took the bump. It was a 1-0 ball game after the first inning. Grice had 3 strikeouts though in the first inning, but did let up a home run.
So let me take this one right here, and I'll hand it back.
All right.
So Marlette has a phenomenal hitter, and this is no disservice to everyone else on the team, but Aaron Bauer is he's like, you would look at, if this is the MLB, you say that guy's a pro. Okay. Right. In the world of high school, like, he's a pro high school player. Like, he knows what he's doing. It was a heck of a matchup. I know you weren't able to see it, but I will tell you, it was a battle of 2 very good players. And Aaron Bauer hit what I will call a majestic 370-foot bomb off of Xander. It was majestic. Back to you.
And fast forward through inning 2, inning 3, all of a sudden Grice has 9 strikeouts. And I'm just about to the ball field, and I'm like, where are these 9 strikeouts really coming from? No, Xander Grice has 9 strikeouts because he is absolutely dealing. He's pounding the zone. He's mixing his pitches. And then all of a sudden the offense comes alive on top of it with run support. I don't remember the final score out of the game. 5-1. Yeah, 5-1, okay. Yep. 5-1 ball game, finishes out. By the time you're done, you're just like, man, I wonder what Grice finished with. Well, sure, let me help you. 6 innings pitched, 15 strikeouts. Yeah, I'm pretty decent with math. That's a lot of strikeouts.
Yeah, that's there's 18 outs in 6 innings.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. That's pretty effective. And then you sit there and you look at game 1. It's like, he was battling with actually Aaron Bauer on the mound on the other side.
Yeah, to start that
with.
Game.
Yeah. So, both of them actually started out very strong, and Grice gets the better end of him at the end of the day. As far as the win goes and the loss goes. But man, 15 strikeouts in a game when there's 18 possible strikeouts in the 6 innings. That's a big deal. That's a really big deal.
It was that led him to being identified as Athlete of the Week for Caro and
Correct.
for one of the Players of the Week for Tuscola County Advertiser. Right. It was absolutely a proud dad moment.
Rightfully so. Xander was able to get the Athlete of the Week, as you had mentioned. In 6 games, 500 batting average, 2 wins on the mound, 9 innings pitched, 21 Ks. Ks as in strikeouts. That's how many people he struck out in those 2 wins. He does have 6 base on balls, 3 earned runs, and 6 hits. Not a bad stat line. I would say, hey, let's calm down the base on the balls. But hey, if you break it down 3-3, hey.
Well, he had won that game.
Correct.
He got all his other ones in the other game, right?
Right,
so,
absolutely.
Now, enough about that, right? I mean, we don't need.
But it was this is what I want to get into here, and especially into game 2 is watching some of these kids on how they actually played baseball and how they carried themselves even in game 2. Mm-hmm. They came out in game 1, clawed, fought back, pushed 5 runs across. Wyatt Waterman, I think, drove one right back up the middle, if I remember right, in game 1.
So let me go there.
Ahead.
So we got Wyatt Waterman, junior Wyatt Waterman went 1 for 2 with an RBI and a run. Got a big walk as well. Valen Buniak, he got a hit and 2 RBIs. Now it was a 40-foot hit, but I had to score a hit, and he got 2 RBIs out of it because smart base running by Ramon Zamora to get that second run in, and then Matthew Booms went 1 for 2 with an RBI as well, senior. So. Key hits, right? I mean, that's what clutch is about, hitting it when you can get those guys in. Almost all of that happened at one time and helped to put us ahead at that point.
Yeah, put you ahead and win a ball game.
Yep. Then we go to game 2, and Mr. Sideways Finger himself decides that it is on my glove hand, so give me the ball, let's pitch. And he goes out. It's getting dark because it was what day?
Solar eclipse.
Yes. So we had a little bit of a late start. Didn't really need it, but because the eclipse was at 3-something, but we got a later start, which meant we were only able to play 5 innings. Allard went out, 3 innings pitched, 3 hits, 3 earned runs, 4 walks. Again, we could say could definitely cut back on the walks. 8 strikeouts though. And then Trenton Hessling came in to get the save with 2 innings pitched. Freshman Trenton Hessling. Big game of that day. It's actually the freshman and the sophomore, Hessling and Zamora. So I'll lead with Zamora. You end with Hessling in terms of how the game ends. Zamora goes 2 for 3 with a triple and 2 RBIs and scores 3 runs on our win 5-3 over Marlette. So, Ramon is someone that I've known for a long time. He holds down center field. He's one of the guys. Balls go to center field. Balls caught. Like, there's no worries. Right? No worries. You know that. We've had him forever.
Yep.
And hit that ball in the gap, and it was no doubt he's going to be on third. It was only a question of whether he was going to score. So, big game for Ramon. And then Trenton came in to close the game.
Yeah. Something that every freshman does, right? I mean, come in to close the game out. But when Trenton closed the game out, you saw a little bit different side of a freshman. Calm from what it looked like at my angle. Very, what do I want to say here? I don't want to say methodical. Methodical is not the word I'm looking for, but very patient on the mound. Was not rushed, was not hurried. Took his time. Got down to 2 outs. Runner on second base. Batter standing in the box.
First and second.
First and second.
Full
Thank
count.
you. Full count, and something that you and I both know and would probably tell our base runners: make sure he throws the ball home.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So what does Hessling do? He does as every pitcher would do. He's probably going to be running, so I'm going to throw a nice, which was kind of a smooth pickoff move to second base.
Mm-hmm.
Nice spin, leg up, and all of a sudden the runner breaks for third base.
Yep.
And boom, out on the tag at third base. Ball game over.
Freshman Mark Warren at third.
Freshman Mark Warren at third. Why not, right?
Because he's going to be in those spots.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was.
And if you have not seen the video, go check the video out. We have it. It is posted on the Tigers Den.
It is. Yeah. Yep. It's exciting. And so we took that doubleheader to go to 3-3.
Yep.
And no, we're recording tonight because our game at Dow Diamond got canceled with Swan Valley. JV tournament tomorrow's canceled.
Yep. And I do want to real quick jump back on my mistake. Trek is at Davison tomorrow.
Davison, okay.
Yes, so that is my mistake.
Yeah, okay. I had a pretty reliable source that it got moved. So all in all, listen, we're going to apologize, but not really, that we spent most of the time talking about baseball here at the end. There's a reason we put it at the end. It's your favorite sport.
Yep.
It's my favorite sport. And honestly, a lot of these kids, we've put a lot of time in. We're not biased because, we're biased. That's just the way that it is.
Yep.
Well, we'll do our best to keep up with the rest of the sports. And as coaching, I don't know if we're going to get on here again in a bit. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll see. Real quick, boys golf, I don't think has had a match yet.
Not that I know.
I know they got canceled, but not a match yet. As far as you speak about coaching, obviously you're coaching. I thought I was going to take kind of a year off, That proved to be foolish, apparently, as I am coaching my youngest son for rec ball for Caro baseball softball. So, I mean, I'm excited to do it. Really, I am. I am truly excited to do it to help the kids grow and to help the program grow. As they move up through onto varsity. Eventually, we're only talking 12U, but eventually, 12U goes a lot faster than what I thought it would in obviously my oldest and your youngest pass. So, as they will be freshmen next year.
I know. All right. Well, there's our update. And I think, for everybody that's stayed and listened this long, I think the closing thought is we're pumped.
Excited.
Because we got to know what's happening next on a couple different fronts.
Yep. And
good news is coming in some other ways. And exciting news and stuff that we are going to be happy to share.
Yeah.
And
very soon.
And when news breaks, I think we'll try to share it. And we aren't the most on the button type of thing, but
yeah, we'll be like the breaking news on WNEM, and we'll come to you live. No, we won't. No, we won't. We'll be close to that though.
Maybe an exclusive.
Yeah, maybe an exclusive.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows what we're talking about? Anyway, so for that, we're going to sign off here. Thanks for tuning in to the Prowl Podcast. We got our winter sports update and spring sports up to this point. And I think it's probably important for anybody who is listening, share your stuff with us, right?
Yep.
You can find Chris Wilcox on most of the social medias. You can find Trevor Grace on that too. You can, most importantly, you can share with Tigers Den, and usually Diana finds that as if on Facebook and through Instagram. And like our goal here is to get kids stuff out there.
Yep.
Oh, we can't stop. Sorry, we have arguably one of the most impressive things that's happened from Caro youth that we need to talk about. So much so that it required a 1.5-page write-up in the Tuscola County Advertiser. Chris Wilcox, please tell us what happened.
I was wondering where you were going there. I was completely lost for a second.
But now you know.
Yeah, now I know. I would love to say the championship belt, but there is no championship belt.
The championship dictionary.
The championship dictionary, actually returns to Caro, to Shaw Elementary, where my nephew, Nolan Wilcox, was able to, beat outspell, I guess would be the word, in the Tuscola County Spelling Bee against 18 other kids from the respective schools around Tuscola County. And he was the last one standing. And, I couldn't be much more prouder. That's not right. I couldn't be any prouder of him than what I was seeing him. I'm not going to lie. I didn't even know he won. Because I was like, what's the rules? What? Everybody was clapping. I'm like, what's going on? Yeah, he won. Terrarium. Don't ask me to spell it. I'm not going to spell it. But it was pretty cool. He was hoping for a top 10 finish, maybe top 5. But he put in the work, and it essentially went to a spell off because he actually missed a word. The kid from Reese, Do Russell, I believe is his last name. Maybe it's Nathan, if I remember correctly. Spelled the word correctly, and then did not spell terrarium right. My nephew spelt that right, and then ended up spelling the next word right, and which ended up giving him the championship that now resides back in Caro for at least another year. So it was pretty cool. It was a pretty cool moment.
So 4th grader Nolan Wilcox is the county spelling bee champion, and as a former participant in that back in whatever year that was, and did not make it that far, hats off to him, because that is awesome. I know when you told me about it, it was like, I remember putting in the work, and I know how I missed it, and it's still devastating to this day, but I'm super proud of him for doing that, because this isn't about me. Goodness gracious, who cares? But back in Caro, and you kind of predicted a rotation here.
Yeah, there was just the way that everything kind of aligned up. It was interesting. Reese had a string there for a while, and I just was kind of looking at the program, and I said, it's going to come back to Caro. My brother kind of looked at me a little funny, but I said, it's coming back to Caro. There's reasons why, and sure enough, it came back to Caro, and like I said, I'm beyond filled with joy for my nephew, any of my nephews and nieces. I do have a niece. Anytime that they're rocking it in school or on the athletic field, it's pretty awesome to watch.
And we do talk about athletics a lot here, but we need to, guess let everybody know that, it's for everything, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, that's what we're here for is whatever's going on, and try to report on all these awesome things that kids do, because, it seems the negative stuff gets out quite a bit. Not always all enough.
Yeah, you always see the negative, but where's the positive? Yeah.
All right, well, that's what we're here to try to do. So with that being said, shout out Nolan again. I'm proud of you too. I know, I've seen him walk. You don't win it without putting in the work. You said it, and I'm just
got that right.
And so that's awesome. So with that being said, this is Trevor Grice.
Chris Wilcox.
And we're signing off for the Prowl Podcast. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.